Alright, so here we are with the laptop on the bench, and I'd like to start with a little bit of cleaning, because this laptop, when I got it, is not exactly the cleanest. You can see the dirt and grime kind of all over the surface. Just something sticky right here, and there's what clearly was a sticker here at one point. And if we open it up, you see it's just kind of dirty and dusty all the way around on the monitor and the keyboard. Keyboard's quite sticky, and there's even some spots like this dark area here where you can see that like this is probably where his wrist was sitting or something. And I'd like to take just some alcohol and a rag and see if I can clean some of this up. But we'll probably start with the outside first. The logo here might require a little bit of extra work. A little plastic spudger or something. We'll put a little IPA on there just to see if that'll help. Same with the sticker. Just to see if we can't give it a little more encouragement. I don't really want that running over the edge. But that already cleaned up the top very nicely, actually. Looking pretty good. See if I can get that off. I know I've got some plastic scrapers. This is plastic, and the frame of this is like aluminum or something. So I don't think this is going to hurt at all. That or it's a really convincing plastic, because I mean, it feels really nice, the construction quality of this. I would say that's a lot better than how it was when we started. Let's see if we can't get this inside cleaned up now. Probably start with that nasty keyboard right there. Just kind of nasty. I'm hoping I can clean this up without having to, I don't know, it doesn't look like that keyboard really comes off, so I can just try and get to it as is. Be in a good spot. Now I will be tearing this all the way down, obviously, to repaste it and such. And the previous owner told me that the fans have been replaced at least twice, I think he said. And even the current one, when I'd used it, is quite obnoxiously loud, actually. So I'm hoping we can fix that up a little bit. I don't have replacement fans, but I figure we can clean them at the very least, and I'll probably knock down some of the noise. So I'm just going to get around the edges of this before I even work on the center, because I feel like the center is really going to be the tough part. I cleaned up pretty nice, actually. I don't think I'm going to be able to do anything about where the wrist was sitting, because I think honestly that's just worn the paint down. So that's probably just something we're going to have to live with, but honestly not that bad. So not too worried about it. And just sticky stuff on all these keys. You can tell it's really never had a proper cleaning. Go key by key, but I might need to take Q-tips between the keys because it looks pretty gross down in there between them, and it'll probably benefit. I don't know though, because it is cleaned up pretty nice already by just doing this. So maybe we'll get lucky and the microfiber will pick up most of that gunk. Well, I think that did a great job, but I definitely can still see some gunk under some of these keys, so I'm going to see if I can find some Q-tips for that. We'll see if we can't make a little bit of a difference under these keys. I don't know, I probably won't be able to get all of it out. I don't know, that looks a lot better though, I think. I think that looks leagues better. Now let's see if we can't tackle this screen. I would say that is pretty good looking. Let's flip this over and give the bottom of this thing a little bit of attention. Not a terrible bunch of stuff to see down here, but it still deserves to be cleaned. Thankfully, the rubber feet have not eroded away. That does happen with laptops, but usually older ones, you know, not something this recent. The bottom of this actually isn't even really that dirty. Probably picked up most of the dust from my workbench. Give it a once over, that's probably fine, honestly. Flip this back over for now. Okay. I think it's a clean laptop. All right, we're ready for the teardown now of the laptop. And as I tear it down, I'm just going to keep track of all the screws over here to my right so I don't misplace anything. But I think the teardown should be pretty self-explanatory. Most of the screws are already outlined on the back here. Might need to swap bits though. These look like a smaller size than what I normally use. And it's important to use the right size because otherwise you're just going to strip the screw head. If you strip the screw head on a laptop, you're going to have a really bad day. I think the one I was using before will work fine. Feels like it anyway. That one feels unnaturally tight. It is close to the display though. And I don't think there's any hidden screws other than the one that was under the factory seal here that somebody else has already taken out. But I'm sure we'll find out while we're trying to tear this abomination apart. Because I, at this point, have not done any research into how this thing comes apart, which is incredibly negligent of me, but I feel is sometimes more fun. Because then it really is a learning experience. And there's no better way to learn than by doing it yourself. I don't really know what to expect from the state of the thermal paste in this thing. This laptop truly isn't that old. If I remember correctly, it's like from 2017 or 18 or so, I think. So, I mean, the thermal paste shouldn't be that bad. And the further that, if he was true about someone else getting in here to replace the fans a couple times, I would hope that those same people might have replaced the thermal paste, but you know, that's not always the case. Actually is a lot of screws on this thing for a somewhat newer laptop. You know, you'd figure with newer laptops like this, most of the time you just gotta pry stuff open, but they probably didn't want that to happen, because if this truly is a thin metal frame like it feels like it is, you'd probably be doing a lot of bending that probably would not go back to how it was before. So I could see why they would not want to do that. I like to keep my screwdriver tip magnetized. I know some are automatically like that, but I got this little magnetizer and this thing works wonders. Because sometimes these screws don't want to come out of the socket all the way, like this one. And a little bit of magnetization helps out in the long run. Except for with some of these. Whatever. These two in the middle are giving me trouble. So I'm going to play it on the safe side and use some plastic prying tools to see if we can't get that apart. It looks like the top may just disconnect from the keyboard part, but in other spots it does not. Grab it under the USB port. Ooh, yeah, that worked perfect. Okay, so pull that back down. Got my finger under there. Let's see if we can back that last screw out. That might be holding it in. Doesn't feel like there's any other hidden screws anywhere. Alright, so I was being a silly goose, and I literally talked about the factory seal earlier, and I did not unscrew that, and that was one of the reasons I was not able to pop this off. After that, though, it just kind of came right off, so this gives us access to the insides here. Okay, so there's actually 3 fans, and I'm betting they're probably, I bet these 2 are probably for the GPU, and this one's probably for a CPU, but that doesn't look right with the core sizes. I don't know. We've got a laptop here. It is a 5280 milliamp hours. That's a pretty big laptop, actually, or 5300, either or. 17 volts. Looks like you can actually replace this yourself. That's kind of nice. And sometimes they don't allow that. It's like 4 big lithium cells kind of just taped into one big giant cell. We've got speakers on the side. I remember using these speakers very briefly, and they weren't that bad, but I'm sure I'll comment more on it in the rest of the video. We've got what looks like a Wi-Fi card slot here, and there's not really much else to talk about on this side. There's probably some controllers and such, but it looks like this teardown is going to be pretty interesting because this cable probably needs to come out, and that is a very fine cable. That probably has to come off at the very least, and then the rest of these I might be able to get lucky and flip up. Looks like there's some kind of contact going on here under probably, maybe I think there's memory modules right there. So yeah, I may have been right. This may be the GPU here, and then this that is probably the CPU, and all the memory around this. It's obviously integrated, so there's not really any room for upgrade, but I might be able to upgrade the RAM on the other side of this. If I remember correctly, I believe there was 32 gigs already, so there's not really a lot of need to do it, but you know, it'd be nice if it was there. Let's go ahead and start taking some of these connectors off. And I'm probably going to use a tool that a lot of people would say don't use, but I'm going to use my screwdriver to free some of these cables up, even though it looks oh so wrong to do so. Let's see, this is kind of stuck down to the fan assembly, so that's not going to be great. It looks like someone did remove this at one point, considering that fan looks a lot different. But let's see if I can free this. Okay. Yep. And then that probably just slides right out. Yep. As for, I may not actually need to, well, no, I guess I would need to move that because that's probably connected to the cooling assembly. So pull that out. That was probably the display if I had to guess. We've got that little guy right there. It goes. Okay, so that one's done. It feels like the board just kind of wants to come out, but I'm sure there's some screws holding it in somewhere. Like that one right there. Kind of pinning that fan in. I wonder what happens if we just try and lift it up out of here. So we're not really getting a lot of resistance. I'm getting some down near these ports, which is about right because they're kind of snugged into the case. Right over here. Oh, that side just came out. Okay, hold on, we might be good. Let's just pop this out. Just take a peek under here before we break something. Yep, so there is actually 2 SODIMM slots in there. You can see them. There's a lot going on. It's a busy, busy board. I see what looks like an M.2 slot, or 2 of them actually. That's really nice, and something looks like it might be a set of switches and a CMOS battery that is proprietary. Thanks, MSI. Love that. Okay, so let's go ahead and unplug this too. Okay, so a little tiny ribbon cable right here. Pull that out with my trusty dusty tool. All right, we got a motherboard connector here. Go ahead and get that. That one actually I'm gonna have to unhook. Yep, flips up. Pop it out. This one Wow, that is a really tiny tab piece. Alright, so I'm having some difficulty pulling this out, but I did notice that this little Wi-Fi card is actually screwed in, and that's not going to allow the motherboard to come out. So he's got to come. Oh, don't lose the screw. Was it not magnetic? You gotta be kidding me. Cue the mocking me for losing a screw footage. I don't get it. All right. Got him. And then I did see this other one here. And I can't... Nah, it must be part of the battery. Okay. So that just leaves a couple more cables that are giving us a... I don't know what the deal with this one is. It's like... These connectors are weird, almost like they're supposed to be a flip-up tab, and there's just not. So I might actually just leave that one attached for a second and see if I can pull this out. Because I don't really need to get all the way under here. Yep, okay. And there we are. So, let's scoot this back just a little bit. We've got a pretty nice looking cooling solution. I stand by what I was saying before. I believe this is the GPU right here with the 2 fans. And then this is probably the CPU right here, because that looks more like a CPU die. And then this much heavier coverage looks like it would be for the GPU. That's probably a chipset or something right there, or a controller. We've got our goofy battery right there. At least it is pinned, because I've been working on another board and it had a soldered like CMOS battery to it, and I had to chop it off and add a socket and all this work, and that was annoying. So we could add is it Sharpie? Looks like it. We could add another SSD if we wanted, but I believe this one is... What was this one? Was this one a terabyte? Yeah, I think it's a 1 terabyte drive, and I'm never gonna fill that up, so whatever. And then we have a second one. I could put another, but whatever. Then we've got our 2 slots for RAM, and they're both 16 gig kits, so they're fine. But I would like to go ahead and pull these heat sinks off so I can get a good look at what we got going under here, because I don't like the way these pads are looking. Like, look at that one. That one is just sticking like right out. So we'll start with we'll just start with the screws as they say, because it looks like this is all actually one unit. So 1. These screws look somewhat stripped, so somebody has been in here before. I mean, that was obvious with the factory seal, but I didn't know. I guess, yeah, I guess you would have to pull these all out to replace the fan. I guess that makes sense. We got 1. I know I should probably back them off a little bit at a time, rather than just back, you know, all the way out after seeing which one was first, but... So I think I'm going to have to give this a little bit of encouragement to get this off the board, because it feels very sticky. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Oh, there's a lot of connectors. Okay, hold on. One over here. We've got 2 right here. Probably so it can actually give each fan its own PWM control rather than just blaring all the fans at once. Oh, we got some what looks almost like someone has mixed thermal pastes. And those, I don't know if that's a paste or a pad right there, or what do they call that? There's something else they call that. Thermal, I don't know what the word is. It's like an in-between a pad and a paste. Looks like they used it here on these MOSFETs, and I think those are inductors. But these pad, I mean, like, look at that application of that pad, man. Like, what was that helping with? I know I have replacement pads. I don't know if I have the right size. I'm sure I do. It looks like I do have all kinds of sizes. So we'll see if we can't replace some of these, because they're also probably really dry. Well, that ain't too bad, but it's not great either. that little ETBT pad. We'll see if I can't make some adjustments here really quick. Yeah, this thermal paste application just looks horrific. It looks like they didn't even bother to clear the old stuff off. Little inductor pad right there, that looks a little thicker. I may not actually replace that because that's not going to matter as much. And these look like also pads for inductors. I'll probably just fix those because they look fine. They're just a little dusty. And I don't know what's going on with this, so I probably am not going to fool with that. I'll just hope that contact will make that good again, because I don't have anything to replace that with. If I'd have known it was in here, I would have gotten something, but I don't have anything to fix that, which is honestly not right. You're not supposed to ever, you know, pull apart something and also leave the old paste and put it back either. It's not good for it, but I'd rather leave what was there than put something inadequate or wrong. Yeah, that almost looks like it's not, but it almost looks like liquid metal or something. Like it's got like a shine to it. I really hope this is not a conductive thermal paste that was used here. If you leave the old paste here too, you run into the issue of, like, when you go to put yours on, it's going to squeeze, you know, out the sides, especially if you're like any person that uses thermal paste and puts too much or whatever, however you want to think about it, too much, too little, whatever. But either way, it's going to squeeze out the sides because that's what it's made to do. You know, it fills the gap. And if there's nowhere for it to squeeze, you're not going to get adequate contact to the cooler, or you might just push the paste out even further, like in this case, where it's just like covering the motherboard at this point. So it definitely must not be conductive if it's already doing that. Okay, we're gonna call it there. Now I gotta clean the actual cooler. Look at that stuff. Yeah, it's all over my fingers. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna affect the quality of the thermal pad, so I'm gonna put that right back on. And we're gonna go ahead and apply, let's see, this one corresponds with that right there. At least so the thermal pads can maintain good contact. That's probably what happened with the first guy that tried this, hence the weird thermal pad placement up there, if I had to guess. But anyway, new thermal paste. Go ahead and apply it. Let's go ahead and get this thing back on. I'm gonna worry about screws and stuff first before I worry about fan cables, because I'd rather have the screw placement right. I won't lie, laptops has always been a hard point for me. They're just so difficult. I'm still gonna clean out the fans, but I probably should have done it with the heatsink off, but I kind of wanted it back on there so I could protect it. Because all I'm gonna do is probably, I had a can of compressed air. I don't know where it went. I probably used it for work or something, but I'll just try and get a brush in here. And I know I'm like doing this right on my workbench after I just cleaned it, but I just want the dust out of there. Even if it's free floating, the fan will kick it out. Alright, let's see if we can't get this thing put back together now. That one's good. Should be good. That feels like it's in there. I guess I'll know when I try the trackpad. Nope, it's not in there. And the plastic just came off. Okay. Well, new challenge. Okay, that feels like it's there, but as a precaution, I'm going to put a little bit of Kapton tape. That way I know for sure it ain't going to go nowhere. All right. So hope that stays, and let's connect the battery again. Battery is connected. Tuck that cable down. Okay, it took a little bit, we got it. So now let's go ahead and get the underside of these fans a little bit dusted up. Since that's the side that'll be sucking in the most air. Those ones don't actually look as bad as the CPU one did. We'll call that good. All right, so those are all tucked. Now I'm gonna put this one back in. Okay, feels good. All right, so everything should be connected again. We should be good to put the backpack on. See if it powers on. So, okay. Little clips all over the place. Nasty. Let's see if we have life. And we don't have life. Uh-oh. Now the astute observers that were following along noticed that I reconnected every single cable except for the one that actually goes to the power switch. Hence why we are having issues. So, fingers crossed that was the only reason why that did not work. Okay, I think it freaked out because the battery got unplugged and it lost some settings or something, kind of like I wiped the CMOS even though I didn't, but as you can see, we do have a picture on the display. I was kind of getting a little worried there for a second because it really seemed like it just did not want to come back on, but it is finally working again, so we're good.